I think it's important that people sit through life. I think grandmothers and grandfathers have some amazing, great sayings that I always revert back to mine, saying things that to me when I was a kid and sort of like, and probably ignored them half the time because I was running around like a maniac.
Right.
Being
acting and coding.
Yeah. One of my grandmothers, she used to say to me, she'd call me Flighty Jim. Flighty Jim. Which is I don't know if that translates
Jen or
Flighty Jim.
Yeah.
Like a man's name.
A man's name. So flighty meaning I just would knock things over. I was running around. I was just not thinking
Bull
about
in a china shop.
Bull in a china shop, right.
Flighty Jim.
And I swear I wasn't like that, But I must have been because she named me that. But then later on, it was like, it just in that instance, I was just like, am I rushing into something? Am I being a Flighty Jim? I would not know that name, that what it implies if it wasn't from my grandmother. But it stayed with me I'm 54 now. And I still think, I need to slow down. I need to calm down.
It gave you pause.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it gave me pause. I mean, there's little things like that which you remember. We also have friends of mine work together. We always say, that's going in the book. And that's going in the book. There's no book. Right. But it's a nice way of saying, this incident, this story, this thing that I learned, this mistake.
Yeah. I love that.
It's going to go in the book. This is going to go in the book. I did a presentation the other day. This is for the listeners to understand that nobody's fallible, right? I was presenting and I realized I was on video camera and I realized I was going to have to change my top because I suddenly realized I was going to be in a formal meeting. And so I quickly realized I'd kind of not thought about it too much. So I grabbed a logoed shirt. It's the go-to when you've not got a shirt and tie ready, right? Mm-hmm. So I put it on. I think I'm really good. And I go through the meeting and the meeting goes really well. And then I come out of the meeting and one of the guys from my team looks at me and goes, you do realize that you have your shirt inside out. And the logo's over here. And I looked at him and this is an example of my brain working differently to other people, is I just looked at him and I said, of course it is. But you know that it's superstitious if I swap it after putting it on. And I didn't want anything to go bad in the meeting. And he goes, well, I appreciate you. That's good.
Thanks, mate.
Of course, I made that up on the spot.
Right,
There's no such thing as wearing shirts inside out is a good thing, right?
But I thought since it's on video, sometimes the camera flips it over.
Yeah, I could have used that, but no, they could see that it was inside out. But that's the Flighty Jim.
Get it.
Yeah.
That's the Flighty Jim. I rushed into something and I went, Flighty Jim.
Yeah.
I should have taken my time and then I would have not forgotten to have my suit and tie ready to go for that customer meeting, and I wouldn't have thrown on a shirt the wrong way, and I wouldn't have to make up a suspicion, a sort of one of those strange things like that people do, knock on wood and all sorts of stuff.
Why can't I think of what those are called right now? Superstitions.
Yes. But I think my advice to a lot of students is to surround yourself with people that you can go to and ask those questions and don't look for I guess this is you've probably had this conversation with people already, which is if somebody says they're a mentor to you, then the likelihood is you're probably they're not the person that you want to be as a mentor.
I don't think we've covered that either.
Yeah, no, if somebody comes and says, I'm a mentor, I can help you, my first thought is they're trying to sell me something.
Right.
There's some ulterior motive. When somebody you're with is like, I can help you, just let me know if I can help you. It's like, that is what I'm
authentic,
looking for. Authentic surrounding. I've done a program I was asked by the coach of Stetson University football team to come in and coach them around team performance.
Is this American football or
this is Stetson University in Florida?
Okay.
And so yes, I had to. Yeah, and I didn't get into I didn't get into the football soccer conversation.
And I just want.
But I've done. I've taught. I've helped with facilitations for companies before, and so I sort of did and they said you're going to come in and there's all these sort of gridiron college footballers, right, doing different classes, but they need to know about how do we tie team performance to business, because a lot of those, the percentage that go to the NFL is tiny, so they really are going to just go into business.
Right.
So a friend of mine told me the story about Scott versus Edmondson going to the South Pole, and so I created a whole presentation about the nuances between the two groups trying to rush to the South Pole is a perfect lesson in making mistakes and rushing ahead and thinking, more is better than less, right? But it also talks about how the teams work together. And so I've got a college football team in front of me going, we're learning about the South Pole.
Right.
Yeah. What am I doing here?
Ponies and motorized sleds versus, huskies and a bunch of Norwegian skiers.
Uh-huh.
And guess who gets to the pole first? The huskies and the Norwegian skiers.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, the Scott all perished, including the ponies. But the idea that I wanted to portray myself as somebody giving them advice and having being more humble to the fact that I do not have the right to call myself, to walk in that room and go, I know better than all of you.
Right.
Listen to what I have to say.
Right.
But by telling that story and telling it in that way, you'd be surprised how many of those kids came out of that meeting, out of that session going, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were in a as a football team, they're like, every team's got more money, more facilities, better fans, bigger stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I even stand out? And the coach contacted me and said that 2 of the guys in that team got picked up by the NFL.
Nice.
So, which is incredible for a program that has only been running for 10 years.
Wow.
And is in the Pioneer League.
Yeah.
But that's also your gift of translation. You were able to come at a group of people that you hadn't spoken to before, maybe didn't relate to them on many levels, but you found a common ground.
Cognitive dissonance.
There you go.
It was literally, they were like, oh, here comes some British guy who's going to
engineer
bore us for an hour, and instead they got, in fact, lovely part of the story is I got invited. They did quite well in the March Madness one year, the basketball team, and I got invited to the sort of the game before they went to the Sweet 16, which was the first time in their program, which was pretty cool. And I got there as just again, come down, support the team. I don't know anything about basketball,
right?
And then I get there, and all I could hear as I walked in the room, and because it's a busy, it's 4,000 people. I don't know. It's quite a big stadium, for inside of a room. And all I heard was, no ponies. From this massive group. The whole team were supporting the basketball team from the football, and they saw me, and they just that was what they wanted to shout. No ponies, which is a part of that training.
Yeah.
But don't just assume you are a mentor because you want to impart advice. More importantly, just make them want you to be a mentor, right? That's what I learned.
There's one thing that I want to bring out, because we're almost out of time, that I admire about what you do and your genius, and I think is important for the audience, and also I think Natalie would enjoy this, is you figured out you have multiple geniuses, and you've got 2 brains, 2 sides of the brain. One is, sales and this other stuff, but you didn't let go of the comedic side.
No.
And to this day, you still do stand-up comedy, even though you have this other. So you're doing these 2 things, right? And
I see them as one, by the way. I see them as an important thing for me to do.
Well, I was just thinking for the skills, as I have this genius in this area and have this genius in this area, and I agree. You're just one individual, and I guess my admiration is a lot of times people will pick something and they'll just go with it, even though that's not what they almost like give up on their dreams.
Yeah.
And when you said as a young person, I wanted to be a comedian. Well, you did it. You're still doing it, even though you're doing more than one thing. And that's the point I wanted to make as far as
I think it's a great point. I think I love the idea of inspiring people to follow their dream while they still earn a good money and doing stuff that they feel very rewarded in. I mean, I feel very rewarded in my job. I'm very lucky. I've got to a point where, I work with universities every day, and I'm working with some fantastic areas like research and student development. And, I'm taking technology and finding ways to make it so my life is great. Like, I get to work on esports projects, and I get to go in college athletics and help them with the stadium design and stuff like. That's all stuff. I'm just trying to fill my bucket with stuff that makes me get up in the morning and go, oh, I get to go and fly to. I flew with Penn State University to go and look at a Allegiant Stadium with got behind the scenes, and all I was going, this is cool. I get to do a school trip.
Field trip.
And then remember, I'm doing it for work.
Right.
The idea of maintaining that comedic sort of desire, dream is just makes me smile every day, and I obviously temper it. I'm not thrown 100% into it. I don't have, I could, if I wanted to at some point, just go do that as a career and fail at it.
But learn.
That is the British in you, and fail
But
at
I just love the fact
But never
that
giving up, right?
Yeah, and for a long time I hid it. I didn't tell anybody. I was working, normal, the sort of hard grind of work and keeping your head above water financially and career-wise. And what they didn't know was I was going home at night and writing jokes and sending them into TV shows and doing all that sort of stuff. And, in my comedic community that I'm part of over here and in the UK, a lot of hardworking people who do that full time, and my hat is off to them. They're like, it's incredible that they, it's a hard slog to maintain and earn a living wage, basically turning up to rooms and for 20 minutes trying to make people laugh. Right. But, I cheat, I write songs, I do stories, and I just enjoy doing it. But people said to me, so it's weird that you hid that. And I was like, well, I do have to go in front of people as a professional.
Right.
And so I was always worried about the fact they were like, didn't I see this guy at a comedy club doing jokes and stuff like that? So I always try to hide it.
I'm eating us up, Dan.
By the way, if you get in the era of social media, there's no way of hiding it.
Right.
There's not.
I was interviewing somebody for a role inside of Cisco, and I said, you have all these sort of like questions. You like, so looking at your resume, tell me about your last couple of jobs. Tell me, what was it that you think you excelled in those jobs? Because I'd like to know that. That's a really good question because it gives them a warm feeling. It's like, I'm going to talk myself up. And he starts talking about connecting to people and really understanding people, but also trying to make sure they like you and stuff like that. He goes, and you would know, Neal, because you're a stand-up comedian.
Oh.
And I realized, he's Googled me.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so he's seen that I have this split. There's me speaking at conferences about
you ever show
AI, and
there's like blue on one side and red on the other. But I think the respect was there because I think once he looked to see what level I was at, he was like, actually, no, this guy's actually pretty good.
Really cool.
It's like what makes people human. It's like this is a human just like me, and you have different loves, different genius, different parts of you.
It's also one of the hardest things you'll ever do.
That's true.
Stand up in front of a bunch of strangers and make them laugh. It's probably, and I do. I'm not an extreme sports person. I'm not that. I don't, get the thrill of driving a motorcycle without a helmet. I don't do any of that, right? But I will stand up and say, go in front of a room of people, paying people and saying, I'm going to stand up here for 20, 30 minutes and make you laugh.
Nice.
It's a pretty scary thing.
Well, I'm looking forward to coming to the show.
Me too. I'm going to open for you one show.
Yeah. Well, everybody can be a comedian.
They can.
Well, that was the connection. Is Natalie often introduces herself as
actor, comedian, and podcast person Natalie.
Right, person Natalie.
Yeah,
nice.
And I graduated to stand-up comedy when improv wasn't fueling my fire enough.
Right.
I felt I was really good at setting people up. Like, hey, Mr. Mailman, just I give people opportunity to shine. I was, but I'm like, this is funny for everyone, but where I'm not being challenged enough, so I needed to go to stand-up comedy where I was in New York City, completely challenged and completely beat down to the core.
I love that. I do improv. I've done. My favorite is the bucket list. Is where the audience write.
Oh yes, likewise.
Write into a bucket and like you pull out, and you just have to
go
riff off it. Just that exposure is fantastic. Yeah. But I always talk to people about the stand-up experience. We did it recently for a team event. I actually helped curate where we actually took the sales team to a improv lounge and got them to get up and do improv and got them to do stand-up. Helped them write jokes. What is a premise? What is a tag? What is an act along? And
callback.
And then all that. And then we got them up and it was terrible. It was not funny at all.
No.
But it was funny to me because they had such a blast doing it because they were like, yeah, this is what they do on TV. This is, it's slightly different to getting up at the Grizzly Pear in a Chelsea Village and in a room full of semi-drunk New Yorkers going, there's a British guy with a ukulele. What the hell am I going? What's going on here? And as long as you walk out without rotten tomatoes being thrown at you,
That's great.
Neal, thanks for being on the
Neal.
show. This has been great.
No, this is great.
Lots and lots of great nuggets here.
I think this. We've talked about it. I wouldn't be where I am without mentors. I wouldn't, and I think the era that we're moving into, where the sort of landscape we're in terms of, even with technology like AI changing the work landscape, there's so many children who are coming into the world with a sort of expecting that to be how they will find their genius,
right. Yeah.
But human intelligence is still going to be vital for everybody's success. The idea of AI replacing everything is not true. In fact, humans will get dumber if we don't have humans in the loop. So
that's right.
So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Neal.
Yeah.